In Iran, protests are erupting over much of the nation over soaring inflation and the sinking value of the country's currency. Thousands taking to the streets and shopping malls for the past 3 days after the Iranian rial hit a record low against the U.S. dollar. Videos capturing the chaos. You can see massive crowds there marching in the streets. Police at some points tear gassing protesters. Crowds are demanding that the government address the nation's economic crisis, as well as its shattered defenses after the U.S. conflict with the U.S. and Israel. Joining us for more on this, Arash Azizi, contributing writer at The Atlantic and an Iranian affairs columnist for The National. Arash, great to have you, someone with deep knowledge, close ties to Iran. Curious what you make of these demonstrations. How does it compare to what we've seen in the past?
They're similar to what we've seen in the past, particularly to 2017 and 2019 protests, because they were triggered by economic demands. But let's be very clear. They're triggered by economic demands, but because the regime has for so long been unaccountable and is really not responding to people's demands, immediately people use the slogans like "death to dictator." They come out against the entirety of the regime. What I find just striking is that there's such broad sympathy for people's demands. It's very hard to live in Iran today and deny that things have gotten worse. The currency has fallen to a third of what it was just 18 months ago. So it's very hard to deny this. And obviously, even public figures like, well-known sports commentator, former government figures, all expressing that, look, people have a point and they have a reason to come out.
You have friends and family living there. What are you hearing from them right now?
I think I can say I hear two things. First of all, people sort of show a lot of sympathy. They understand that people are really fed up. As usual, people are really full of admiration for the bravery of people coming out, because we know what the regime does to people who come out. And these are people who from different segments. So bazaris, merchants, sort of traditional Iranian markets came out. Students came out last night, even though they were repressed. Some people were arrested in all over the country. So that's one feeling. The other feeling is that a lot of people, remember 2017, 2019, 2022, 2023, and they ask themselves the question of, how can we get out of this? How can the protests finally get to the result that they want, i.e., change government policy or change the regime sort of itself? And that there's a lot of frustrations, because people remember the failures of the past, and the failure is rooted in the fact that the opponents of the regime have not been able to build a political alternative, build a political leadership, and that's something that has evaded them. Iranians show a lot of bravery, but they're going to need a political leadership if they want to achieve their goals.
And we just put up a fascinating chart on our screen showing just how much the currency in Iran has plummeted. You're getting a lot less, you can see there, over time. 1 million rials, more than that, compared to the dollar. That means people are not getting as much for their money there. I'm curious, Arash, you've said that it's somewhat unprecedented that the president actually wants to meet with some of these protesters behind this issue. What does it tell you that they're willing to talk?
So President Pezeshkian is a reformist. He's someone who acknowledges a lot of problems in sort of Iranian economy and society. And he has tried to take this tack to say, like, we'll talk, we'll be able to answer some of your demands. And they're trying to do things. They changed the central bank governor. But unfortunately, this is quite limited, because first of all, Pezeshkian doesn't actually control power in Iran. He doesn't control the security forces. Really, the power lies with the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, who, as usual, is nowhere to be seen. He loves to give boasting speeches, usually, but he usually hides at times of crisis like this, at least for a while, as he did during the 12-day war with Israel earlier this year, where he basically hid in a basement for much of the war. And he has done the same since. He's not as much public anymore. So Pezeshkian's promise there is limited, and it's also not clear what he can do, because the economic problems are really deep-seated. So it's not clear where this goes.
Nowhere to be seen as millions, as we pointed out, take to the streets. Arash Azizi, great to speak with you. Thanks so much for your time.